Did you know that food addiction can be as powerful and complex as addiction to drugs or alcohol? Recent studies actually show that certain foods, especially which are high in sugar and fat, can trigger the same reward centers in our brain as cocaine, leaving people stuck in this endless cycle of guilt, cravings, and most importantly, loss of control. For many, it's not just about willpower. It's a deeper struggle that often goes unrecognized. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Gayu podcast, where we dive deeper into topics about health, wellness, and the human connection. I'm Gayu, a menopause wellness advocate and your guide to holistic wellness. Today, we're shining a light on a topic that many avoid or simply don't understand: food addiction. If you ever felt out of control with food, this episode is for you. I am thrilled to be joined by Rouba Chalabi, a seasoned breathworker and food addiction counselor, whose unique approach has transformed countless lives. With over 20 years in the corporate world, Rouba understands the pressures and stresses that can lead people to develop an unhealthy relationship with food. Now she dedicates her life to helping others and overeaters and hardworking achievers find balance, reconnect with their bodies, and heal their relationship with food. She's also the author of a powerful book, Beyond the Emptiness: How I Found Fullness Outside of Food, where she shares her personal journey and offers insights on how to find peace and well-being from within. Today, we'll explore the intricacies of food addiction, what really drives it, and how Rouba's unique blend of breathwork and recovery methods offer hope and healing for those struggling. Get ready for an eye-opening conversation that will make you rethink the way you view food, stress, and self-care. Let's dive in. Hi, Rouba. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Hello. How are you, Gayu? I'm so excited to be with you, and thank you for hosting me in your platform.
From the time I've known you, and what you do has always, interested me. And that's why I said I had to have you on this podcast to talk about something, like I mentioned, most people either avoid or actually don't even know they're suffering from. So that's why I said this was important to bring this to limelight. But for many, what exactly is food addiction? And how can you explain how it's different from, common overeating or emotional eating?
Food is a very sensitive topic for an overeater because all of their life, they've tried to eat less, not being able to eat less. So they look at normal eaters, wanting to be normal eaters. They might look at her, she's slim, she can eat, she can stop whenever she would like to and not continue eating. And they don't realize that there are various types of eaters. There's the normal eater. The normal eater might be a little bit overweight, but once you teach the normal eater how to eat healthy and how to have a healthy lifestyle, it's very easy for the normal eater to learn and implement. And then you have a little bit more complex, which is the emotional eater that has some traumas and that uses food as a coping mechanism. So once you teach the emotional eater how to manage their emotions, how to release their traumas and really attend to their needs, they're able to overcome and become normal eaters. However, the food addict from a very young age has used food as a coping mechanism. And the food addict has not used a lettuce or a cucumber as a coping mechanism. The person has used, the baby, the little child has used a food that is very high in sugar, that is very high in flour or fat to numb the unease that they are experiencing in their bodies. So hence the chemical dependency in the brain of sugar and flour and wanting to eat more and more and more. And very much like you described it, it's very much like alcoholism, drug addiction, and any kind of addiction there. Hence the addiction model and the recovery model of addiction to support overeaters that are food addicts to help them overcome their overeating.
Very interesting, actually. So you're saying that there are underlying psychological or emotional factors that make someone develop an addiction towards food.
Of course.
Okay.
So the thing is, it all goes back to childhood. If I'm a baby and my mom or my caregiver is attuned to my needs, then I'm able to understand my needs and I'm able to address my need. So if a baby cries, the mom would know it's too noisy, the baby needs to be in a quiet space. There's a lot of stimulation, the baby needs another environment. The baby might be sick, the baby might need soothing, the baby needs to be held. So the baby realizes I should not be afraid of feeling discomfort. I can express it by crying, because when I cry, my caregiver is going to notice, and my caregiver is going to help me move from a situation of unease to a situation of ease. So if a mom is not attuned to the unease of the baby, the mom assumes my baby is very low maintenance. She doesn't cry. She cries a little bit and then she quiets down and sleep. The thing is, the baby realizes nobody really cares about the discomfort that I'm feeling. So I'd rather swallow it. And for me to swallow it, I need to numb my unease through other means. And because I'm not provided with other ways to regulate my nervous system, then I'm going to go to food. And it's very much in terms of types. Some people are addicted to cigarettes. Others are smokers and social smokers, and they're not addicted to cigarettes. Same, some people are social drinkers and they're not alcoholics. It's the same with food addiction. There are certain types of people that become addicted to sugar and flour and cannot eat sugar and flour in moderation.
Very interesting way. But you're saying that, of course, a child psychology is slightly different in terms of trying to gain attention. The kid is, probably looking at food. Why adults? What kind of attention are they seeking?
It starts in childhood.
Okay.
So it's it's your trauma response. It's your coping mechanism with life. So you develop patterns of coping with difficulty, of coping with stress that starts from those patterns that you developed as a child, and you unconsciously keep doing them. So you start having like a reflex. I feel discomfort, I jump to food without really being able to slow down and to notice, okay, what's happening inside of me? So you have this automatic response of, I need to eat right now. I cannot think. I just need to eat right now. Okay, I'm going to have a bit. It's not enough. I want to have more. Let me have more. No, don't have more. No, I want to have more. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And this is the actual life of many overeaters that are food addict, is this constant food thoughts and constant fights with their bodies about whether to eat or not to eat. And you don't see that as a society. You just see them, they might be quiet or anything, or you might criticize the way they look, criticize the way they eat. And as a matter of fact, they're living hell inside of them because they're constantly fighting with the idea of whether to eat or not to eat.
God, this is deep. This is deep. You've written a book, right?
Yeah.
Called Beyond the Emptiness. Now, can you tell us what inspired you to write the book, and how does it address the struggles of food addiction?
I wanted to give hope to other overeaters. I also wanted to give hope to women who do not fit society's model of what a woman is supposed to be, because that's how I was. I felt like as a woman, I was not the typical Lebanese Arab woman. And also, I always felt so bad because I was an overeater. I was fat. I couldn't stop eating. There was something broken in me and something wrong in me. I mean, bless my mom, she did her best, but her knowledge about healing overeating was limited. Even I have to say, the dietitian, the healthcare system that is out there, I never found a right support for me because I never found that anyone had empathy on understanding the real struggles of an overeater. It was all about eating less, exercising more. So a lot of torture and self-restraint into eating less until you try, you discipline yourself, and then a year and a half later, max, that if you have succeeded and you've lost the weight, there's like an eruption of a volcano and you just lose it again. And through the book, I wanted to give a real life story for people to understand that overeating is a consequence of so many unaddressed issues. And what tends to happen, there's so much obsession on the behavior of eating. And on stopping the eating and regulating the eating, not realizing that the overeating is a coping mechanism, is a survival mechanism, and is the outcome of so many unaddressed issues. So I felt I owed it to other overeaters and to society to really educate them. What are those reasons? What are the traumas that a child experiences that leads a child to be an overeater? And at the same time, wanting to give hope to those overeaters out there for them to have a much more deeper understanding and a holistic understanding of overeating and what is out there that can support them to heal and to really heal and slim down inside out. It's not an outside in approach. It's not about willpower and controlling and fasting. It's more around nourishing yourself and nourishing your mind, your body, and your soul, and connecting to your body.
Very interesting. This kind of leads me to this question. How can someone actually identify that they're struggling with food addiction? Are there any early signs or red flags that they should notice?
I get this question a lot because a lot of my friends come to me explaining to me their kids and the behavior of children. Society is very much into rewarding kids with sweets, which I think is very dangerous if you're an overeater. And it's realizing from a very young age, being sensitive to the stress coping patterns of your children.
Okay.
Because if you realize that your child eats mostly sugar and flour, and whenever they are stressed out, they overeat, and it becomes like this very frustrating battle between you and your child because you want your child to eat less and your child is feeling punished. These are early signs to start noticing that my child might have an addiction, and I need to pay attention to really teaching my child about emotional awareness, stress management, of introducing to everybody in the household. It's not just a child, because it's everybody's eating behavior, of having a much more balanced lifestyle that involves eating a lot of vegetables, of eating a lot of protein, a lot of fruits, rather than eating a lot of starch and lots of sweets.
I think with children, we might there's somebody who's actually noticing and can take some effect. When you're already an adult and you probably do not really realize that I have food addiction, is there anything at that time that can make them realize?
Everybody hates this word. Nobody likes to be told that you are powerless over food and you cannot control the food. So what happens is they try so many approaches. They try to eat less. They try intermittent fasting. They try to over-exercise. They might do some slimming operations. They might now go into taking injections. And then what happens, they realize that everything that they have tried has not worked. And then they become open to new ways of doing it because, yeah, it's a painful reality to be told, you're an addict, and are you willing to stop sugar and flour? Because you're telling the overeater to stop the thing that they're the most attached to.
But then how do you differentiate between a craving and an addiction? What is that point where, it says, no, this behavior signals addiction and not just someone satisfying just a craving?
So an addict would get a craving and would say, okay, let me have one Maltesers, just one bite of Maltesers. And you have like those big bags. Let me have a second one, third one, fourth one. Then they start fighting. Within 15 minutes, they've eaten the whole one, the whole bag. Or they could be somewhere and you're with other friends and you have a nice cake. You have a small piece because you want to be polite and fit with everyone. And plus, because you're an overeater and you feel like everybody's watching you, so you will have a tiny, tiny piece. But then after people are gone, you'll eat another piece. And then an hour later, you'll eat another piece. And you might end up by having eaten the whole cake after everybody has slept home.
Yeah,
so you wake up in the morning, there's no cake.
So there's a big difference between having a craving, and craving would be like, I would eat that one slice of cake and be happy, whereas the addiction would be to finish that whole cake.
The addiction is this food thoughts and inner fights. I need more, 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 and I cannot stop.
Are women more vulnerable to food addiction? And things like our societal pressures, like body image issues or anything else, that women to be more prone to food addiction? Or is it the same with men and women?
To be honest, I'm not really aware. I mean, there are a lot of men that are food addicts, but if you look at society in general, you tend to notice much more women that are overeaters. Is it societal conditioning about the body of a woman and the fact that women spend are much more sedentary than men? Men are much more active. Men are much more allowed to play and to go and to do things, whereas women tend to be conditioned and to be more sedentary, and that leads to different body shapes. I'm not sure that there is genetically a difference in terms of addiction. You would end up noticing addiction patterns of men into other kinds of addiction.
Okay, I get your point.
So women will probably tend to be more addicted to food, whereas men will be more addicted to alcohol and to smoking because they're exposed and because they have an easier access to the other types of addiction. But if your nervous system is a sensitive nervous system, and as a child, your caregiver did not teach you how to soothe your nervous system, eventually, as a life coping mechanism, you might develop an addiction.
How does it affect a woman's relationship with food and their body? Women always have the way they look uh, makes a big difference in the way their self-image or anything is concerned. Now, when you've got food addiction and because of overeating, you don't have that shape of a body that you want to be. And with what you're seeing on social media and the different pressures, what is the struggle that what's she going through inside?
A lot of pain, a lot of shame, a lot of defeat, and basically a divorce with their bodies. It's like, my body is my enemy. My body is unreliable. My body is such a focus of attention by my mom, by so many people, that I'd rather leave my body on the side, divorce my body, and live in my mind, pretend as if my body does not exist. And that takes you to a worse cycle, because if you're divorced from your body and you're not really dealing with your body, then you hurt your body without really caring. And this disruption with the body worsens the cycle of overeating and neglect at a time where it's all about self-love, self-care, being aware of your body, connecting to your body. Because when you're connected to your body and when you're in your body, you're going to treat your body with kindness. And that's the journey of supporting overeaters, is really of a journey of becoming their body's best friends and learning how to attend to their bodies and take care of their bodies. Because when you are present in your body and you treat your body like your best friend, you will not do harm to your body. You will advocate for yourself to make sure that your body is well taken care of.
I think, but that understanding is where people lack that understanding. In general, I'm saying not even with people with food addiction.
That's the growth journey.
Yeah.
That's the growth journey. And that's very much my breathwork approach to overeating, is very much based on this connection of healing this separation of the body and reconnecting the overeaters with their bodies so that they can be present in their bodies and become comfortable in their bodies so that they can start their healing journey.
Okay. So basically, you can't untangle the emotional element. You've got to build in the emotional element to view it together. Is that what you would say?
There are so many ways that you can reach the same result. However, from my personal experience working with overeaters, depending on where they are in their lives, you feel like some people would rather take it like just changing the way they eat first and removing sugar and removing flour and then seeing how that goes. And then you start helping them build coping mechanisms that are outside of food. For others, they might not be ready to make any decision when it comes to their eating behavior, or they feel like their eating behavior is a total flop no matter what they try to do. So the approach is to really start helping them connect with their body, because it's not related to food. It's not related to their eating behavior. And by working on creating this body connection, you allow them to start understanding the depth of the relationship and the journey of truly building a relationship with your body that is based on being best friends.
I like the way you put things. It makes everyone kind of think. But what are any practical strategies? I know they can come to a food counselor would be the first thing to do. But are there any other practical strategies that women can use to kind of manage food cravings, or something that's going to trigger? Say, imagine a fight with your husband or your child disobeying you. Anything that triggers, can there be any practical strategies that can be implemented?
Yeah, so the practical strategies are related to your food choices. So unfortunately for overeaters, you've been attacked and criticized all of your life so that you end up eating much less than you're supposed to eat. You think you're not deserving of food. So there is this conditioning that I need to fast. And what happens is when you are trying to limit how much you eat, what happens is you binge a lot. And the invitation is to try to have 4 meals a day, is to try to eat a lot of fruits, to try to eat a lot of vegetables. So overeaters have a tendency also for self-neglect, including leaving their food to coincidence. And the invitation is not to leave your food to coincidence. Your invitation is really to make sure that if you know you're going to have a very busy day, is to take food with you to work, is to make sure that you have a balanced meal rather than snacking all day long, is making sure like you are eating healthy food. For me, I feel like the foundation is learning how to cook. If you have eating issues and overeating issues, the foundation is learning how to cook, because then you have the power to cook healthy food for yourself.
Absolutely agree.
Because people are looking for this magical quick fix. It's like this magical wand. I had a fight with my husband and I'm not going to eat. And the thing is, you probably had a fight with your husband at the end of the day. And it has been a very busy day. And the chances are you have not eaten properly throughout your day. So you might have skipped breakfast or skipped lunch. You haven't eaten enough. And then you are hungry and angry. And when you are hungry and angry, where on earth are you going to get any willpower not to binge?
Hungry leads to willpower. I would call it hungry and angry, hangry.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's the conditioning of, oh my God, I don't deserve eating a lot of food, because I tell a lot of people, I mean, I've been living a life free from sugar and flour for the past 7 years, almost 8 years now. And I eat a lot, but I eat a lot of the right food. And it's not an amount of, we have an expression in Arabic, eating like a bird, like it's barely eating. And that's not the aim. The aim is really about having an abundance mindset with food, feeling like I am deserving of food and food is not going to run away. Because one of the issues of overeaters, there's this fear of famine.
Oh,
There's
really?
this fear that food is going to run away and food is not going to be available. So if I can grab the food, I might as well eat all of it. Because, as a child, the food was being controlled.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of attention. Oh, stop eating. So there's this fear. And it's really about learning that I'm deserving of an abundance of food and of eating a lot of food during daytime. Because if you eat a lot of food during daytime, you're not going to binge at night. But then they tell you, if I start eating early in the morning, I will not be able to stop. There's this fear. So I will try to fast as long as I can. And then once I'm not able to fast, then I'll start eating. But that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, that's why they say never go to a shopping supermarket hungry or on an empty stomach, because that's where people binge or eat
Exactly.
the unhealthiest things possible.
Exactly. And it's about, and that's why as a recovering food addict, I weigh all of my meals. I weigh them. I have a scale and I weigh my meals, because I'm telling my brain, I am eating this amount of food and it's the same amount of food I'm eating. So my brain trusts me that I'm not going to deprive myself from food. I'm deserving of food. And then if somebody is having a snack, I don't really care, because I know that every 4 hours I'm going to be eating. And every 4 hours I'm going to be eating a certain amount of food. So I don't really care what others are eating.
Is that struggle or the talk with your head always exist?
It pops back in moments of stress. So the thing is, whenever our nervous system is within its window of tolerance, everything is tolerable. Somebody can yell, shout, scream. You have a high level of stress, you can keep on going. But if your nervous system is exhausted, then it's very difficult to regulate anything. But the thing with overeaters, they're so used to numbing themselves with food and using food as a tranquilizer, using food as an energizer, that they're disconnected from their bodies and they don't notice early signs of stress. So one of the things that I work a lot with overeaters is having them develop the awareness of the early onset of stress in their body. Because when stress is starting to pile up, it's very much like if you have a car that has a tank that is empty and you're in the middle of the desert and there's no gas station in the foreseeable 100 kilometers, then you're going to run out of fuel. But if you notice halfway through your tank that, I only have half a tank, I cannot travel to Oman with half a tank of fuel. The distance that I can use is pretty limited. I need to refuel before I become the superwoman. So it's really the same journey of noticing when am I developing signs of discomfort and unease and attending to them. And usually you have to attend to them through resting, through taking a break, through talking to someone, through getting some fresh air, through anything that is free of charge. It's not like, because a lot of people feel like self-care, I need to pamper myself and buy this service and do this to myself. And self-care, most of self-care is free of charge. It's taking a break, resting, sleeping, drinking water, exhaling out because you're swallowing all of the stress in. It's just exhaling it out. And yeah, noticing the signs of stress early on and taking action on them, because that will help you get your nervous system back to a place where you can tolerate so many things.
Leads me to a question that, like Alcohol Anonymous would be a group where you would go and, meet fellow people who are going through addiction. Is there any groups like these for people going through food addiction?
There are Overeaters Anonymous groups. I'm not a member of them here in Dubai, but I'm sure if you research online Overeaters Anonymous, you will find meetings. Personally, I've tried a lot of them, but I found them very Christian faith oriented because they were started by Christian faith founders. So it's very Bible oriented with Bible related language. So if you are from another religion, the wording might not resonate with you. But I'm also very grateful because they allowed me to start my healing journey and recover, even though I did not fully resonate with the language and the teachings of Overeaters Anonymous. And then I was able to find my own healing path through my inside-out transformation using so many other varieties of modalities, because our world is so diverse and you have so many healing modalities.
How can someone actually maintain a healthy relationship with food after recovering from addiction?
So it's all around your self-care outside of food, because your friend is going to get through a struggle that is going to trigger you. Something is going to happen at work that's going to trigger you. Your kids are going to go through something that's going to trigger you. There's going to be a change in your lifestyle that will trigger you. Your relationships with your parents, your husband, anyone. I mean, there's life. And the thing is, that's why so many people are able to control things and lose weight for like a year and a half, and then everything collapses afterwards. Because the mindset was more into a diet mindset. It's what I eat. I will eat less and exercise more, and that's it. And actually, the invitation is an invitation to self-connection, to learning how to connect with your body, to noticing signs of stress, to managing stress through ways other than food, and through finding pleasure in life through ways other than food.
Yeah. What are the pleasures you found outside food?
A lot of pleasures. So I love being in nature. So I'm going to go back a tiny bit backwards. When you are an overeater, your overeating is hiding another problem. So in my case, what I have discovered that my overeating was a coping mechanism for my high sensitivity. I have a high sensitivity to light. I have a high sensitivity to sound. I have a high skin sensitivity, which means that anything that is skin related really soothes my nervous system. So for me, it's really understanding the unique needs of my body, to really understand that me, Rouba, as a human being that is beautifully imperfect, I have unique needs that are different from Gayu's needs, that are different from Mo's needs, that are different from any person's needs, and noticing my needs. What are they? So for me, my needs is sleeping early, because when I sleep early, I have the best energy possible. And for me is I need moments of quiet. I need moments of alone time. I need to feel connected to nature. So being outdoors, being in nature gives me so much pleasure. Contact with water also soothes my skin. Even massaging myself after showering, using essential oils. You are so much into essential oils. So having essential oils that I put into diffuser, having like oils that I put on my skin that really have those beautiful essential oils, really calms my nervous system. So it's really discovering what makes you feel good versus what makes you look good. Society conditions us to look good in front of others, to make things that make others happy, so that they can say, chick, you look good to others. But for the overeater, or any addict, as a matter of fact, you're using an operating system. If you're a computer, you're using the wrong software. You're using an operated system that is not adapted to your body and that has a lot of bugs. And whenever it goes into shutdown, you need to overeat for it to restart. It's really a journey of throwing your software and operating system, discovering the true needs of your body, and developing a new way of understanding these are my needs. It doesn't really matter what is Gayu's judgment about me sleeping early or not. As long as my body's comfortable with that, and that makes me, that relaxes my nervous system and that decreases the turbulence inside of my body and brings me tranquility, that's what matters, because this is what I will do for myself. Because when I provide my body with its unmet needs, I don't need to overeat. There's nothing that is frustrating my body. I'm minimizing, of course, our external environment frustrations. And again, it's very much the first thing that I noticed that that kind of triggered my journey of transformation was I realized I was a very successful woman. Everybody looked at the superwoman that I was, but I was unhappy. And what I realized is I was investing so much energy into things that were outside my span of control. And the things that were within my span of control, which was taking care of me, I was not attending to them. And what has happened is I've learned how to truly take care of my unique body. And once I discovered what my unique needs are and I attend to my unique needs, then I'm less likely to be irritated and want to use food as a coping mechanism because I know how to manage myself outside of it.
How does social media, or, how do they portray food addiction? A lot of things are spoken about. Are there any misconceptions or stigmas that needs to be addressed, especially when it comes to food addiction?
There's a lot of focus on eating less and exercising more, which does not work. So you would see people getting into trends about intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting works for a normal eater. It works for an emotional eater. But for someone who has a brain addiction, it triggers them to eat more. So the whole way the system is organized around eating less and exercising more, if your nervous system is tired and you are the type when your nervous system is tired, you go into freeze mode, then there's a lot of stigma around laziness and thinking that you're lazy, even though your nervous system is outside its window of tolerance and it's in a freeze mode. Then you force yourself to exercise, which means putting so much stress on your body that pushes you to overeat. So, and plus in social media, there's a lot of food temptations. There's a lot about making life look so good on the outside, as if like pretending, and not realizing that the real life is different. So it gets into a mismatch and it tends to make you feel like, why is there anything wrong with me? Why am I not able to fit that model? Not realizing that it's more around discovering myself. It's more around connecting within and remarrying the body that I have divorced and falling in love with this body that I have divorced and beginning to prove to my body through actions that I love you and I'm going to honor you and I'm going to take care of you.
What's the key message or takeaway you hope your readers gain from Beyond the Emptiness? And how can it help women who are grappling with food addiction?
There's nothing wrong with you. You are beautifully imperfect and deserving of love and care. And the journey starts through connecting with yourself, through doing something good for yourself and discovering what makes you feel good rather than what makes you look good to society.
So more self-love and nourish yourself.
Self-love and self-care. And the free self-care, because a lot of people tend to think self-care, fancy stuff. No, it's free of charge.
Very nice. Where can our listeners connect with you or learn more about your work, your website, social media, or any programs where they can find you or seek your guidance?
So I have a website and we can put it in the link down. I also have a free guide that anybody can access and click on it. And it's a free guide that is called How to Keep Calm Without Binging. And it's a lovely guide that allows them to really assess their relationship with their body and to really assess how they can become their body's best friend and begin their journey of taking care of themselves.
Before we go, we've got this one special segment in our podcast. It's called the 1%. The reason being 99% of our conversation is all about women, women wellness, women health. But men are part of our lives too. So this 1% is actually dedicated to the men in our lives. What can men do better to understand the women in their lives? What's your 1% advice to them?
Let the woman be. It's unconditional acceptance. It's unconditional love. It's accepting the woman as she is and giving her the space to be herself.
So let her be.
Let her be.
Let her be. Amazing. Ruba, it was so great having you here today and understanding what's actually goes behind the head or the mind of somebody grappling with food addiction. I think it was absolutely brilliant eye-opener for me. I think, like I said someone who I couldn't relate or couldn't understand what that could be, but I think it's amazing to understand what actually goes at the back of, someone with food addiction. Great session, great session.
My pleasure. I mean, it's a delight to be with you. And thank you so much for being interested in the topic and now feeling like this is something you would like to share with your audience. It's my delight. So thank you for hosting me.
That's a wrap for today. I hope you had amazing insights on food addiction and, most importantly, self-love and self-care, especially that is free. Until next time, menopause, why pause? Let's play.